Deep in the outer rim of space, the mining ship Stellar Harvest slowly moved through fields of floating rocks. The ship looked small next to the huge chunks of metal and stone that drifted around it like sleeping giants. Inside the ship, Dr. Maya Chen worked at her computer, studying readings from the ship's sensors. She had been looking for rare minerals for 3 months, and so far had found nothing worth the long trip. The silence of space was suddenly broken by a loud beeping sound. Maya looked up from her screen as red lights flashed all around her. Something big was coming toward them fast. "What is that?" asked Pilot James Reed from his seat at the front of the ship. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he tried to figure out what was happening. Maya's eyes went wide as she read the numbers on her screen. "Those are not ships," she said in a quiet voice. "They are alive." Outside the Stellar Harvest, 47 creatures moved through space without any protection. Each one was as big as a small house, with hard shells that glowed with bright colors. Sharp arms stuck out from their bodies like the legs of a giant bug. They moved together like a group of fish, turning and spinning as one. The biggest creature came close to their ship. Its shell flashed with patterns of blue and white light. The other creatures answered back with their own light shows. It was like watching a conversation made of colors. "Are they trying to talk to us?" James asked, his voice shaking a little. Before Maya could answer, the creatures surrounded their ship. But they did not attack. Instead, they touched the ship gently with their sharp arms, like they were trying to understand what it was made of. One creature pressed what looked like an eye against the window where Maya sat. She stared back at it, wondering what it was thinking. "This is amazing," Maya whispered. "They are smart, very smart, and they work together like a team." The biggest creature's lights changed to a slow, steady pattern. All the other creatures dimmed their lights to match. Maya had studied animal behavior on Earth, and this looked just like what happened when a pack leader gave orders to the rest of the group. "James, turn on our outside lights," Maya said quickly. "Make them flash in the same pattern as that big one." James did what she asked. The ship's lights began to flash on and off in a steady rhythm. The creatures reacted right away. Their lights got brighter, and they moved closer to the ship. The big one flashed what looked like an excited pattern. "I think they understand that we are smart too," Maya said with a smile. "They want to learn about us." For the next few hours, Maya and the creatures worked out a simple way to talk using light patterns. The creatures called themselves something that sounded like Velkari in Maya's mind. They were hunters who traveled from star to star, following groups of other creatures that they hunted for food. But something strange happened when Maya tried to ask what they thought humans were. The creatures kept using a light pattern that did not match any of the patterns they used for the animals they hunted. It was something different, something special. "What do they think we are?" James asked, looking worried. "Are we their next meal?" Maya shook her head as she studied the light patterns. "No, I don't think so. They keep using this symbol when they talk about us." She pointed to a pattern on her screen. "It's not the same as any of their prey animals. It's like they think we are something like them." The big creature, which Maya started calling the leader, sent another message. This one was longer and more complex. Maya's computer tried to translate it, and slowly words appeared on her screen. "Small pack of metal and flesh. You make light songs like the Velkari. Are you hunters like us?" Maya felt her heart beat faster. The creatures thought humans were hunters too. They thought the Stellar Harvest was a small pack, just like their own group. "James," she said slowly, "I think they want to know if we hunt together like they do." Before James could answer, space around them suddenly filled with new ships. These were clearly made by someone, not grown like living things. They had smooth metal sides and moved in perfect straight lines. 15 identical ships came out of nowhere and stopped in front of the creatures. A harsh, mechanical voice came through the Stellar Harvest's radio. Velkari Pack Hunters, you are in Hegemon Empire space. Leave now or we will destroy you. The reaction from the creatures was immediate. Their lights flashed bright red patterns that looked angry and dangerous. But instead of moving toward the new ships, they moved closer to the Stellar Harvest, surrounding it like they were protecting it. The leader sent a message to Maya's ship. Small pack of metal and flesh. You watch. You learn pack ways. The metal singers would end your song. We will not let this happen. Maya's mouth fell open. They're protecting us, she whispered. But why? James asked. We just met them. Maya looked at the light patterns flowing across her screen and suddenly understood. Because they think we're part of their pack. In their society, the pack protects all its members, especially the young ones who are still learning. The metal ships powered up their weapons, and energy readings spiked on Maya's screens. The creatures spread out into what was clearly a fighting formation, but they kept the human ship safe in the middle. Velkari Pack Hunters, the mechanical voice said again. Move away from the flesh beings. They will be processed. This is your last warning. The leader's response was a brilliant flash of light that needed no translation. It was pure defiance. Maya realized that she and James were about to witness something that no human had ever seen before. They were about to watch as one group of aliens fought another group to protect them, and the creatures were doing it because they thought humans belonged to their pack. The universe had just become a much more dangerous and wonderful place, and humanity was about to learn that sometimes survival meant finding others who would fight for you, just as you would fight for them. The first energy beams shot through space, and the battle for humanity's future began. 5 days had passed since the creatures first found the Stellar Harvest. The Velkari still floated around the human ship like guardians, their shells pulsing with gentle lights. Maya had learned much about them during this time, but what she discovered made her both excited and worried. The Velkari were not just hunters, they were the perfect hunters. Maya sat in the ship's small meeting room with James and the other 2 crew members, Engineer Roy Kim and Medical Officer Linda Torres. She had called them together to share what she had learned from talking with the creatures. They have been hunting across the galaxy for millions of years, Maya explained, pointing to the star maps on her screen. They follow huge migrations of space-dwelling creatures, traveling from system to system. But they are not just following food, they are following a way of life. Roy looked confused. What do you mean? Maya pulled up recordings of the light conversations she had been having with the leader. They live in what they call pack groups. Each group has between 30 and 60 members. They hunt together, share everything they catch, and protect each other no matter what. If one member of the pack is in danger, all of them will fight to save that member. Linda leaned forward. And they think we are a pack like them? Yes, Maya nodded. But here is what worries me. They keep asking us questions about our hunting grounds, our prey species, our pack territory. They cannot understand why our pack is so small, or why we are so far from our hunting grounds. James frowned. What did you tell them? I tried to. Explain that humans live on planets, not in spaceships, but I think they believe that our whole species is one giant pack, and that we are just a small scouting group looking for new places to hunt. Before anyone could respond, the ship's alarms went off again. But this time, it was not the Velkari causing the alert. New contacts were appearing on their sensors, and they were coming fast. The 4 humans rushed to the bridge as 23 new ships dropped out of hyperspace. These ships looked nothing like the hegemon vessels they had seen before. They were sleek and curved, with hulls that seemed to shift color like oil on water. Beautiful and deadly at the same time. Incoming message, Roy announced from the communications station. It is directed at the Velkari. The message that came through was like music, but music that spoke words. Honored pack siblings of the Crystal Song. We sensed your battle call across the void. The Talon fleet comes to answer. Who dares threaten our hunting kin? Maya's computer worked quickly to translate the musical language. They are called the Talon fleet, she told the others. And they are asking the Velkari who attacked them. The leader's response was immediate. Its shell blazed with complex light patterns that Maya's computer struggled to translate. Fleet siblings of the Swift Strike. The metal mines came with cleansing fire. They sought to end the song of new pack members, small flesh and metal singers, who learn the hunting ways. One of the new ships, larger than the others, moved closer to the stellar harvest. Maya could see through its transparent sections that it was filled with creatures that looked like giant birds made of living metal. Their wings were folded, but she could see sharp talons and beaks that could tear through steel. New pack singers. Came a message directed at the human ship. We are the Talon fleet. We hunt with the Velkari across many stars. They say you show promise as pack members. Is this truth? Maya looked at James, who nodded for her to respond. She activated the ship's communication system and spoke carefully. We are humans from the planet Earth. We are new to space travel. The Velkari have been teaching us about pack hunting. We are still learning. The response from the bird creatures was what sounded like laughter. All packs start small, Earth singers. We once knew nothing of the void hunt. The Velkari taught us as others taught them. This is the way of the Great Pack. Great Pack? Maya asked. You will learn, came the reply. But first, we must deal with those who would harm pack cubs. As if summoned by those words, space around them exploded with new arrivals. The hegemon ships were back, but this time they brought friends. 50 identical vessels appeared in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Attention, pack species, came the cold, mechanical voice. You have corrupted a developing species with pack ideology. This cannot be permitted. Surrender the humans for processing or face annihilation. The reaction from both alien fleets was instant and fierce. The Velkari blazed with angry red lights while the Talon fleet's ships began to glow with internal fire. But what surprised Maya most was that both fleets moved to protect the stellar harvest, creating a double layer of defense around the human ship. Pack cubs are sacred, the leader transmitted to everyone. The metal minds do not understand this. They think only of themselves. They fear the strength that comes from working together. The leader of the Talon fleet added its voice. In the Great Pack, every member has value. The youngest cub may one day lead the hunt. The newest pack may teach old packs new songs. This the metal minds cannot comprehend. Maya suddenly understood something important. The Hegemon Empire was not just another alien species. They were the enemy of everything the pack hunters believed in. Where the packs valued cooperation and diversity, the hegemon demanded uniformity. Where the packs protected their weakest members, the hegemon eliminated anything that was different. Maya, James said quietly, I think we have accidentally walked into the middle of a war. Before Maya could respond, both alien fleets began transmitting rapid streams of information directly to the stellar harvest. The ship's computers were suddenly filled with star charts, tactical data, and what looked like historical records going back thousands of years. They are downloading everything they know about the Hegemon Empire, Roy said in amazement. Combat, tactics, ship designs, weak points, everything. The leader's personal message to Maya was clear. Small pack of flesh and metal. You must learn quickly now. The metal mines will not stop with just us. When they find your hunting grounds, they will try to make your people like them. Uniform, obedient, alone. We will teach you to fight them, but first, you must understand what you are fighting for. Maya looked around the bridge at her 3 human companions. They were just a mining crew, not soldiers or diplomats. But somehow they had become humanity's first contact with a galactic war between 2 completely different ways of life. The hegemon ships began their attack run, and the pack fleets moved to intercept them. As the battle began around them, Maya realized that humanity's future had just changed forever. They would either learn to hunt with the pack, or they would become just another species processed by the hegemon empire. The choice was no longer theirs to make alone. The pack had already claimed them as cubs, and cubs were worth fighting for. The space around the stellar harvest turned into a nightmare of flashing lights and explosions. The hegemon ships fired their weapons in perfect coordination, creating deadly patterns of energy beams that should have destroyed any normal enemy. But the Valkyrie and Talon fleet were far from normal. Maya watched in wonder as the pack fleets fought together like dancers in some deadly performance. When a hegemon beam targeted a Valkyrie hunter, 3 Talon ships would suddenly appear from different directions, their metal wings deflecting the energy while the hunter struck back with its sharp claws. When Talon ships needed to reload their weapons, the Valkyrie would flow around them like a protective shell, their hard bodies absorbing hits meant for their packmates. "This is impossible," Roy said from his engineering station. "Look at their coordination. Every ship knows exactly where every other ship will be at every moment. How do they do it?" Maya studied the streams of light and sound flowing between the alien vessels. They are not just fighting together, she realized. They are thinking together. Every pack member shares what they see and know with all the others instantly. The battle seemed to be going well for the pack fleets until Maya noticed something that made her blood run cold. 3 hegemon ships had broken away from the main fight and were moving in a wide circle around the battle. They were trying to attack the stellar harvest from behind while everyone was distracted. "James!" she shouted. "3 enemy ships are coming around to hit us." But the pack had seen it too. The leader's shell exploded with urgent light patterns, and immediately 6 Valkyrie hunters broke off from the main battle. They positioned themselves between the human ship and the approaching hegemon vessels, ready to sacrifice themselves to protect what they saw as pack cubs. What happened next changed everything Maya thought she knew about the aliens. Instead of just fighting the 3 enemy ships, the Valkyrie began transmitting rapid streams of light patterns directly to the stellar harvest. Maya's computer struggled to translate the flood of information, but slowly she began to understand what was happening. "They are teaching us how to fight," she gasped. The light patterns were not random. They were detailed instructions showing the weak points of hegemon ships, the best angles to attack from, and how to coordinate with other pack members. The Valkyrie were treating the humans like young pack members who needed to learn combat skills quickly. "Dr. Chen," James said from the pilot's seat, "are they expecting us to join the fight?" Maya looked at the tactical information flowing across her screen. The mining ship Stellar Harvest was not built for combat, but it did have some basic defensive weapons for dealing with dangerous asteroids and space debris. One of the approaching hegemon ships locked its weapons onto the human vessel and began to charge its main gun. The ship's automated defense systems came online, and the small mining lasers began tracking the incoming threat. "Maya," James said urgently, "if we are going to do something, it has to be now." Maya made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Fire on their weapon system, exactly where the Valkyrie instructions show. The mining lasers, designed to cut through rock, struck the hegemon ship's energy projector just as it was about to fire. The feedback explosion tore the enemy vessel apart in a brilliant flash of light. The reaction from the pack fleets was immediate and overwhelming. Every Valkyrie hunter in the battle space began flashing patterns of what could only be joy and approval. The Talon fleet ships sang out harmonies that made the Stellar Harvest's hull ring like a bell. "The cubs have learned to hunt," came the leader's message, blazed across space in letters of pure light. But Maya barely heard the celebrations. She was staring at her screen in shock as she realized what had just happened. The humans had followed the Valkyrie instructions perfectly, and the attack had worked exactly as predicted. More than that, the computer analysis showed that human reflexes and decision-making had actually improved on the alien tactics. "Look at this," she whispered to the others. "We took their hunting instructions and made them better. We saw things they missed, found improvements they had not thought of." The battle was turning in favor of the pack fleets. The remaining hegemon ships, faced with enemies who were now working even better together thanks to human input, began to retreat. But as they prepared to jump to hyperspace, their leader sent one final message. "Pack corruptors," came the cold, mechanical voice. "You have violated the natural order by teaching your ways to developing species. The Empire will remember this. We will find the home world of these new pack members, and we will cleanse it of your influence." The threat sent a chill through Maya's heart. The Hegemon Empire now knew about Earth, and they were not happy about humanity learning to work with other species, but the leader's response was swift and fierce. "Metal minds who think only of themselves. You understand nothing of strength. Watch and learn what happens when different packs work together for the first time." What the leader transmitted next was not just a message, but a demonstration. It began sharing human tactical improvements with every ship in both fleets. The modifications that Maya and her crew had suggested were spread instantly through the pack networks. The effect was incredible. Ships that had been fighting the same way for millions of years suddenly began trying new approaches. Velkari hunters used human-suggested attack patterns to strike more effectively. Talon fleet ships incorporated human timing recommendations to coordinate their assaults better. "My God," Linda whispered. "We are not just learning from them. We are teaching them too." As the last hegemon ships jumped away, Maya realized that something unprecedented had just happened. A brand new species had been introduced to a galactic alliance and had immediately made that alliance stronger. The humans had not just joined the pack, they had improved it. The leader's final message of the battle was directed personally to Maya. "Small pack of flesh and metal, you are no longer cubs who only watch and learn. You are pack members who teach and improve. The Great Pack has been waiting for minds like yours for a very long time." Maya looked around at her 3 human companions. They were just 4 people, on a small mining ship, but they had somehow changed the balance of power in a galactic war. The pack hunters had protected them, taught them, and welcomed them. In return, humanity had given the pack something it had never had before: the ability to grow and change. The battle was over, but Maya knew that the real adventure was just beginning. The pack had found new members, and those new members had already started changing everything. 3 weeks after the first battle, the stellar harvest traveled deeper into unknown space than any human had ever gone. The pack fleets guided them through regions where stars were different colors and planets floated free without suns to orbit. Maya had stopped trying to map their course days ago. They were beyond all human charts now, in a part of the galaxy that belonged entirely to the pack hunters. Every day brought new wonders and new species. The Velkari had introduced them to the Stone Singers, massive creatures that looked like living asteroids, but could move through space faster than most ships. Their songs, transmitted through gravitational waves, could be felt rather than heard. When they sang together, whole solar systems would resonate with their harmonies. Then came the Wind Dancers, beings made of pure energy who existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that human science could not measure. They communicated through electromagnetic pulses that painted pictures directly in Maya's mind, showing her memories of hunts that spanned entire galactic arms. "How many species are part of this alliance?" Roy asked during their daily briefing. His engineering mind was struggling to catalog all the different forms of life they had encountered. "I have stopped counting at 43, Maya replied, reviewing her notes. "And the leader says we have only met a small portion of the Great Pack. They have been forming alliances and partnerships for millions of years, bringing together species that complement each other's abilities." James looked worried. "Maya, what exactly are we getting ourselves into? This is not just first contact anymore. We are being recruited for something big." Before Maya could answer, space around them began to change. Ships started appearing everywhere, dropping out of hyperspace in groups and formations that stretched beyond the horizon of their sensors. Hundreds of vessels, then thousands, all different, but clearly working together. The diversity was overwhelming. Maya saw ships grown from single massive organisms, their hulls pulsing with life. She saw vessels built from crystallized music, their surfaces singing in harmonies that made reality shimmer. There were ships that appeared to be made of living light, others that looked like geometric puzzles that folded through multiple dimensions at once. Pack siblings gather for the great hunt, the leader transmitted to the human ship. Every 7 cycles, when the void whales migrate through the deep dark, all packs come together. This is how we remain strong. This is how we remember who we are. Maya felt her mouth fall open as she watched the massive fleet organize itself. Despite the incredible variety of ships and species, everything moved with perfect coordination. Groups formed based on hunting specialties, with scouts on the outside, heavy fighters in attack formations, and support vessels arranged to help wherever they were needed most. And in the center of it all, protected by every other ship in the fleet, was the stellar harvest. The young pack singers hold the place of honor, came a transmission from one of the stone singers. They are the newest voice in the great song. All packs protect the newest pack until they are strong enough to hunt alone. Roy shook his head in amazement. They are treating us like we represent all of humanity, like our little mining ship is the voice of our entire species. Because they believe that is exactly what we are, Maya realized. In their society, when a new pack joins the alliance, they start small and grow over time. They think Earth is our home territory, and we are just the first hunting group to make contact. The implications of this hit Maya like a physical blow. The Pack Alliance was not just protecting 4 humans on a mining ship. They were protecting what they believed was humanity's first step into galactic civilization. Every species in this massive fleet was personally invested in making sure humans succeeded as pack members. Their communication system suddenly came alive with thousands of messages from different species all across the fleet. The ship's computer worked frantically to translate them all. Welcome, dirt singers of the third rock from Yellow Star. We await the songs your pack will teach us. May your hunts be swift and your prey be plenty. The fleet mothers of the void swimmers offer protection to the youngest pack. Maya felt tears forming in her eyes as she realized what was happening. Every single species in this enormous fleet was personally welcoming humanity to the Alliance. They were not just accepting humans as new members, they were celebrating them. But the celebration was cut short when space itself seemed to tear open in front of the fleet. The largest ships Maya had ever seen began emerging from hyperspace. These were not the sleek hegemon vessels they had fought before. These were massive battle stations the size of moons, bristling with weapons that could destroy planets. "Attention, pack species," came a voice that sounded like the grinding of a million machines. "You have gathered in violation of hegemon territorial claims. You will disperse immediately or face total extermination. Any species found to be harboring the contaminated humans will be marked for cleansing." The response from the Great Pack was unlike anything Maya had ever experienced. It was not just a message, but a symphony of defiance that came from every ship, every species, every individual member of the Alliance. The translation that reached the stellar harvest was simple but powerful. We are pack. We hunt together. We fight together. We die together. You will not take our newest siblings. Maya watched in awe as the massive fleet began to reorganize for battle. But this was not the chaotic fighting they had seen before. This was strategy on a scale that human military minds could barely comprehend. Species that had been working together for millions of years moved into formations that maximized every possible advantage. The Velkari took positions as fast attack squadrons, their light and agility perfect for striking at weak points. The Stone Singers formed the heavy assault groups, their massive bulk capable of absorbing incredible damage. The Wind Dancers spread throughout the fleet like a three-dimensional web, ready to phase through enemy attacks and strike at vulnerable systems. And at the heart of it all, the newest pack members were given the most important job of all: coordination and tactical analysis. Pack siblings of flesh and metal, the leader transmitted directly to Maya. Your minds see patterns that old hunters miss. You will be our eyes and voice in this battle. Through you, the great pack will learn to fight as one. Maya realized with a mixture of terror and pride that the fate of this battle might depend on how well 4 humans could help 43 alien species work together. The pack was not just protecting them anymore. They were asking them to help protect everyone else. The hegemon battle stations powered up their world-killing weapons, and Maya knew that the greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. And somehow, impossibly, humanity was going to be at the center of it all. The battle for the future of the galaxy began with silence. For one long moment, 2 completely different philosophies of existence faced each other across the void. On one side, the hegemon empire's battle stations hung in perfect formation, identical and efficient, representing the cold logic of uniformity. On the other side, the great pack's diverse fleet sparkled with thousands of different designs, each species contributing their unique strengths to the whole. Maya sat at her station aboard the Stellar Harvest, her hands shaking as she realized that somehow, impossibly, she had become the tactical coordinator for the largest fleet in galactic history. Her screen showed connections linking her to the command structures of 43 different species, all of them waiting for her insights. "Maya," James said quietly from the pilot's seat, "are you ready for this?" Before she could answer, the hegemon forces opened fire. The battle stations launched waves of energy that could have cracked planets, but the great pack was already moving. They flowed through space like a living organism, each species playing their part in a dance that had been perfected over millions of years. The Velkari darted between the massive energy beams, their shells reflecting the light as they struck at weapon systems. The Stone Singers absorbed hits that would have vaporized smaller ships, their massive forms shrugging off planet-killer weapons like raindrops. The Wind Dancers phased through solid matter to attack from impossible angles. But the hegemon had numbers, and their mechanical coordination was devastating. Pack ships began to fall, their deaths marked by mournful songs from their surviving fleetmates. "Maya!" Roy called from his station. "The fleet commanders are asking for tactical analysis. They need to know how to break through the enemy formations." Maya stared at her screen, her mind racing as she tried to process information from dozens of different species. Each one saw the battle differently. The Velkari focused on speed and individual targets. The Stone Singers thought in terms of massive, coordinated strikes. The Wind Dancers saw patterns of energy flow that existed in multiple dimensions. And suddenly, Maya realized something that none of the individual species had seen. "There!" she shouted, highlighting a section of the hegemon formation. "The battle! Stations are not just fighting together. They are sharing power. Look at the energy flow patterns between them. If we can cut those connections..." She transmitted her analysis to the entire fleet, showing how the hegemon battle stations were linked by invisible energy bridges. They were not separate ships, but parts of a single massive weapons system. The pack fleet responded instantly. Instead of attacking individual battle stations, they began coordinating strikes on the energy links between them. Velkari speed combined with Stone Singer power, guided by Wind Dancer dimensional sight, all working together to cut the connections that made the hegemon forces so powerful. But Maya was not finished. As she watched the battle unfold, she began to see something else that the individual species missed. She had the advantage of being new to all this, of seeing the big picture without being limited by millions of years of established tactics. "Linda," she called to the medical officer, You have been studying the biological data from all the different species, right? Yes, Linda replied, confused. But I do not see how that helps in a space battle. Because you are thinking like separate. Species, Maya said excitedly. But what if we are not separate at all? What if the Great Pack is actually one organism and each species is like a different organ in a body? She began transmitting new tactical suggestions to the fleet, treating the diverse species not as independent allies, but as specialized parts of a single superorganism. She positioned the scouts like sensory organs, the heavy fighters like muscles, the support ships like vital organs that needed protection. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Great Pack fleet suddenly began fighting with a level of coordination that none of them had ever achieved before. Species that had worked together for millions of years found themselves operating as parts of something greater than they had ever imagined. Velkari Hunter would spot a weak point in the enemy formation and instantly share that information with stone singers positioned perfectly to exploit it. Wind dancers would phase through enemy shields to disable key systems just as conventional. Forces struck from the outside. Support vessels would move to exactly where they were needed before anyone even realized they were needed there. The hegemon battle stations, designed to fight against separate fleets of individual ships, could not adapt to this new kind of warfare. Their perfect coordination became a weakness when faced with an enemy that thought and moved as a single entity. "This is impossible," came a transmission from the hegemon command station. "No species fights like this. What are you?" The leaders. Response blazed across space in patterns of light that every species in the fleet could understand. "We are what you fear most. We are many minds thinking as one, while remaining free to be different. We are the proof that strength comes not from being the same, but from working together despite being different." Maya watched as the tide of battle turned. The human insights that helped the Great Pack fight as a single organism were spreading through the fleet networks, permanently changing how all these species thought about cooperation. They were not just winning a battle, they were evolving into something new. The last hegemon battle station, its weapon systems failing and its hull cracked open, transmitted one final message. This contamination will spread. Other species will learn these pack ways. The natural order will collapse. "Yes," the leader replied simply. "It will. And that is exactly what should happen." As the hegemon forces retreated into hyperspace, the Great Pack fleet erupted in celebration, but Maya barely heard the cheers and songs of victory. She was staring at her screen, watching as species after species began incorporating human tactical concepts into their permanent battle doctrines. "Maya," James said softly, "do you realize what we have done?" Maya nodded, tears streaming down her face. "We did not just help them win a battle. We taught them a new way to exist. And they taught us what it means to be part of something bigger than ourselves." The leader's personal message to the stellar harvest was warm with affection. "Pack siblings. Of flesh and metal, you came to us as cubs who knew nothing of the hunt. You leave us as teachers who have shown the Great Pack new songs to sing. Your species will always have a place in our fleet, and our fleets will always have a place in your star fields." As the massive fleet began to disperse back to their home territories, Maya realized that the stellar harvest was no longer just a mining ship lost in space. It was humanity's first embassy to the galaxy, carrying the knowledge that would change everything. The journey home took 2 months, but they did not travel alone. A small escort of Velkari hunters and Talon fleet ships accompanied them, along with representatives from a dozen other species. They called themselves the First Pack, the initial group that would help humanity take its place in the galactic community. During the long flight back to Earth, Maya worked with the alien representatives to prepare humanity for what was coming. The Pack Alliance was not just offering friendship, they were offering membership in a civilization that spanned the galaxy. But that membership came with responsibilities. Your species will need to choose, the leader explained during one of their daily conversations. The Hegemon Empire will not forget what happened. They will come to your world eventually, offering order and efficiency in exchange for freedom and diversity. You must be ready to stand with the pack when that day comes. Maya understood. Humanity was about to face the same choice that every intelligent species eventually faced: join the cold uniformity of the Hegemon Empire, or embrace the chaotic strength of the Great Pack Alliance. There would be no middle ground. When Earth finally appeared on their sensors, Maya felt a mixture of joy and terror. Home had never looked so beautiful or so vulnerable. The blue and green world, spinning peacefully in space, had no idea that its children had just committed it to a galactic war. Will they understand? Linda asked, looking at the planet that held everyone they had ever known. Will humanity accept what we have done? Maya thought about everything they had learned during their journey. The Pack Alliance was not perfect. It was messy, chaotic, and sometimes dangerous. But it was also alive in a way that the Hegemon Empire could never be. It celebrated differences instead of erasing them. It protected the weak instead of eliminating them. It grew stronger through diversity instead of weaker through change. They will understand, Maya said finally, because we will teach them the same way the Pack taught us. We will show them that being different is not a weakness, and that working together does not mean giving up who you are. As the stellar harvest entered Earth's atmosphere, followed by ships that represented dozens of alien species, Maya knew that humanity's childhood was over. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they never would be again. The cubs had learned to hunt. The pack had gained new voices, and somewhere in the depths of space, the Hegemon Empire was already planning its response to this new threat, to their ordered galaxy. But Maya was not afraid. She had seen what happened when different species worked together as one. She had felt the strength that came from unity without uniformity. She had learned that sometimes the youngest pack members could teach the oldest hunters new songs. Humanity was about to join the greatest alliance in galactic history, and Maya knew that they would make that alliance stronger, just as it would make them stronger in return. The universe had become a much larger and more dangerous place, but it had also become a place where humanity would never have to face its challenges alone. The pack would stand together, as it always had, as it always would. And in the depths of space, among the stars where the great hunts took place, new songs were being sung. Songs that included, for the first time, the voice of a small blue world and the species that called it home.